Hey guys, Kyle, the Death Knight of Anime here, and I'm sorry this review's late, guys, but it's been a long day of just housework in general. But with that said, but I won't harp on it too much. And with that said, let's jump into One Piece episode 936. So the first big thing with this episode is it gives us more details on what happened after the fire that had started it all through the perspective of Hiyori, as well as just insight into what happened to Hiyori after her family died and her brother just kind of went missing. And I'm not gonna lie, there's a lot about this optimistic princess trope that is becoming rather overused in One Piece, but I think here in this arc and with Hiyori specifically, it is the best use of it because again, through that flashback with basically Kawamatsu, we see that her optimism and honestly just we see that her optimism just through like her facial expressions is sort of a mask she wears in order to show how it's sort of a motivational mask in a way, as it shows how it's really the only thing keeping her going in a world and country that has changed so much. It's practically unrecognizable to her. Like everything that Wano has become under Orochi and Kaido, everything about the Wano she pretty much grew up in, the Wano she loves, is gone, her her optimism is practically the only thing keeping her believing that things can change for the better. But if she loses that, then there will really be nothing left for her to cling to. At least not until she meets Momo and the others again. But even under those circumstances, if this final attempt to defeat Kaido fails, she'll pretty much lose every reason. She'll pretty much lose every single reason for which her to have clung to that optimism of thinking that Wano is going to return to how it used to be. And and in some ways it's like it's a situation where it kind of begs the it where if something again it really just shows once again how much this arc kind of really is sort of a do or die situation for everyone. Like if this whole operation in order to defeat Kaido and Orochi doesn't succeed, then it's basically just it's game over for everyone. It really is. Um, Now, I guess on the uh, flip side of that, I don't remember the manga focus. I don't remember the manga focusing this much on Hiyori after the reveal of her past, so I can only assume that everything after the fact was an anime only edition. And if it is, it really kind of shows because I'm not gonna lie. The one major problem I think I have with this episode is that is that it focused a little too much on her. Is that it focused a little is that after her story was told, it continued to keep spotlight on her, and it's one of those things where I don't mind Hiyori. I'm not like annoyed with her or anything, but at the same time, it is one of those things that Toei does where or they kind of remain on a certain scene for an extended period of time, and I'm kind of looking at my watch, running down the clock, going, okay, when are we gonna switch scenes here? Like when are we gonna switch scenery? Like it's not something that annoyed me, but it is kind of one of those things where on a technical level I am like, yeah, can we switch scenes already? But I guess to be fair on that though, when you do switch scenery, it's to something rather, yeah, it's something that honestly, looking at it in today's world, is kind of awkward to say the least, because pretty much largely to start from the beginning, we basically see how basically Law he pretty much storms off in order to go save his crew, and it's something you can't really blame Law for. Like in some respects, even though he has a lot more maturity than Luffy, he still very much acts when it comes to his crew. He still very much cares about them. Like his crew are still his number one priority to him, and if they're in any danger, he will do anything he can in order to save them. So it's one of those things where or pretty much even from the beginning, from Shinobu had of what Shinobu had said, that was already a losing battle. Like he was going to do it anyway, and that in itself, it does kind of emphasize again that basically the growing tension and the growing tension among the resistance, and just how things are starting to kind of crumble a little bit. Not entirely to the point where the whole life's gonna crumble, but it is showing that things are growing tenuous. So things need to move along as fast as they can. But aside from that, after that whole blow up with Law ends, we basically hear from an old lady in Ebisu how living in the capital actually works, and basically how not only how deep the underlying corruption goes, but how quickly people are honestly disposed of in the capital. Like if it's basically a thing where if you don't have money, if you don't have enough money, or you don't have any, if you can't contribute, you're basically thrown out. Which yeah, well, I'm not gonna. That's one of those things where, well, I'm not gonna get too far into the weeds with it. Let's just say again, it is a very awkward and definitely eerie explanation, in the sense where you can just see you can just kind of see the parallels and the eeriness to the real world with this situation. And like there's a lot going on right now. I'm sure we can all draw parallels to, and yeah, it's just eerie how the whole thing of, if you don't have money, you're basically trash. And it's it how money runs everything in Wano. And it's kind of ironic how the shady business that basically those firm's three criminals had partaken in was also kind of their downfall by getting swindled by Hiyori. So yeah, it is kind of an ironic twist when you think of how Hiyori kind of swindled the swindlers in some way. And yeah, obviously, big thing with this episode is that Hyogoro gives us a display of the power that Luffy's been trying to learn, which I think was something we all expected to happen, as well as the fact that he's now going to be Luffy's mentor, more or less, with this. But it also raises the bigger question of how Rayleigh learned that exact same, or a variation of that technique, because this kind of, in some ways, establishes a connection between the Roger Pirates and Wano now, so it's just a matter of knowing what the hell that connection is. Of course, as manga readers, we basically all know what that connection is, and yeah. While animation was kind of hit and miss largely with this episode, the art and animation on that one sequence of Hyogoro taking down Alpaca Man with that power was well worth the watch. And I could be overthinking it, but I think the way that the animators had presented the technique to us also gave us an idea gave us a bit of an early idea on how it works, because even before Hyogoro unleashes the technique, we see Haki kind of accumulating around Hyogoro's palm. You see Haki around Hyogoro's palm almost kind of gathering and crystallizing before it was released. So obviously that means it's based on the principle of focusing your Haki on a single point of contact before releasing it, which will require some focus on Luffy's part, and yeah, I'm not trying to hurt the guy. I'm not trying to like dog on the guy with this, but yeah, when it comes to focus training, that is definitely That is definitely Luffy's weakness. I mean, he has enough focus in order to learn hockey, but in order to learn the more advanced techniques, that's where I think it's going to be slightly his disadvantage. I mean, I'm sure he's going to learn it, but it's gonna take some trial and error for sure. Um, but yeah, guys, that's all I got for this review. If you enjoyed the video, like, comment, subscribe. Follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and Crunchyroll. Dead Knight of Anime, signing off. Later, guys.